so much for listening, watching. Of course, I want you to subscribe because we got amazing things on this channel. And, oh my goodness, do I have a great joke for you. You're like, why are you starting with a joke? Well, just to kind of shake it up and keep it interesting, right? So what happens when you put your hand in a blender? You get a handshake. Stupid, I know. So that's why we move on to fantastic content. We're starting a new series called Resurrection Essentials. And you're like, what's up with Resurrection Essentials? Well, in the preceding month or so, we've celebrated resurrection. Jesus raises from the dead. We celebrated Easter. I was thinking about this, and we kind of go through these seasonal things, be that Christmas, New Year's, whatever, Easter. But I also want us to think in terms of resurrection as not just an event like Easter once a year or Thanksgiving, that kind of thing, but resurrection essentials so that we sustain, we keep, and there's resurrection as kind of consistent through our lives. So today we're going to talk about death. And I go, that makes no sense. For resurrection essentials, why are we starting with death? Because you can't have resurrection unless something is dead. And I think this is really something to consider because Jesus, obviously he died. In John 19:30, Jesus is hanging on the cross. It says, when he was there, he said, "It is finished." He gave up his breath and died. And nobody wanted him to die, right? He prophesied to his disciples multiple times, I'm going to go to Jerusalem, I'm going to be killed. He even told them, I'm going to be crucified, and 3 days later, I'm going to raise from the dead. And the disciples didn't want to hear that. They're like, no, not happening, not happening. And in fact, Peter's like, over my dead body, I'm not going to let you do, So there's just this real angst, understandably, as it relates to death. And we don't like death. But at the same time, we like resurrection. I had a friend of mine, she loved Good Friday, and I was like, ugh, why? She's like, well, it's important. You can't have resurrection. I'm all about Easter. Woo, woo, he's risen. Skip the bad part, go to the good. But the reality is, we have to have death before we can have resurrection. And there are some things, I think, in our lives that need to die. So when you think about that, and I'd ask you to give me some feedback here, what, even just seasonally, what dies every year? What dies every year? And it's something for you to think about. Because there are seasons, and you think about winter, you think about spring, summer, fall, and there are seasons. There are times and flow in our life when things die or seem to go dormant or hibernate. Now Jesus obviously full-blown died, but I want us to think about some of those things and consider in your life as well, what seems to be dead? What is dead in your life that needs resurrection? And so that can be a lot of things. That can sometimes be our thinking. We have dark, deadly, discouraging, despondent thinking, and that can need some resurrection, can need some life. Negativity, some of that. Sometimes our finances look dead. Maybe you've had a foreclosure, you kind of hit the fan with an employment situation. Maybe you had a death that seemed like, well, I didn't get the job I wanted, or I didn't get into the school. And there are a lot of times when we seem to have death, but those are opportunities. And I just encourage you, those are opportunities. And instead of thinking of death as, oh my God, the end of the world, it's over. There's no hope. It's finished. And really, I think that there's a lot of reality to that. But with Jesus, things that are dead can become alive again. So what are some things in your life that are dead? What are some things in your life that should be dead? And what are some things in your life where you could use some resurrection? And I just encourage you, answer some of those questions. Give me some feedback, because it helps me understand, and it helps you as well engage with the content. So I want us to not just look at resurrection in terms of, once a year Easter, and the bunny and Jesus from the tomb and all that. I want us to think of resurrection as more of a continuity in our lives, and looking and seeing, okay, where there's death, there's the potential for resurrection. You can't have resurrection without death. So that's kind of our first installment in this series. It's going to be a really good series because I think you'll see some things that are very helpful and relevant for you, applicable as we keep going. So thank you so much for subscribing. Make sure you hit the notification bell right there. It'll keep you posted when we put up new content. And thanks a bunch. Make sure you share this with your friends as well, because this is really good content to share. Not too long. Jokes over at the beginning. So thank goodness we get onto the good stuff after the silly jokes. So thanks again.